त्वनचारी
जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव
जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव
निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय assembled devotees की जय हरे कृष्णा श्री कुमार प्रभु जी can do the welcome address.
Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you all devotees for joining our Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya daily Srimad Bhagavatam reading morning session in English for 1 hour. Hare Krishna. Thank you all. Guruji, Binod, Pushpa.
Yes. He is our devotee, Prabhu.
Okay.
Newly joined from Oman.
I see. Okay. First time coming to the reading session.
Correct.
So, if you can, after the class, can introduce Prabhuji.
Yeah. No, Prabhu is known to all the regular hall devotees, Prabhu.
No,
Yeah.
the reading session.
Correct. Okay. So, yes. So, Vinod Krishna Prabhu has recently joined Kanaya Desh, Kuwait. He's from Oman. And Prabhu is already, in Shiksha level, he has taken Prabhupada Ashraya. Prabhu is planning for shelter, and after that, the short time, Prabhu is preparing for Guru
So
Disha. Okay.
Now in Kuwait or
Oman? In Kuwait, and he's very enthusiastic and very active seva devotee for cooking seva, hall preparation seva, after program seva. Prabhu is there throughout the program. So we will welcome Prabhuji for our online program. Prabhu is coming this program for the first time by chanting Hare Krishna mantra 3 times. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And we are very fortunate today to listen from His Grace Shoguna Krishna Prabhu. I call Prabhu as our preeminent, our main Shishya Guru of Kanaya Desh Garamandal. For the past many years, Prabhu has been with the pivot, the coordinator, and the inspiring preacher for our other programs. For I don't know, maybe more than 10 years, yes, 10 to 11
Hare
years.
Krishna, Prabhu. I am not qualified, Prabhu, please. Just take
Prabhu, that is your humility. You always say you are not qualified.
We'll start with the class.
We all derive a lot of inspiration from the Prabhu, week after week, day after day. So let us enthusiastically welcome Sivana Prabhu by chanting.
Prabhu, it's okay, Prabhu. Like we'll start the class.
No, Prabhu, no. You have
We'll chant for all the devotees.
Yes, surely, Prabhu. For with your wish.
Yes.
Hare Rama, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama, Hare.
Hare Krishna, as normal, Srimad Prabhu can offer prayers and can start reading the text.
Yes, thank you very much for giving the opportunity. Hare Krishna. So once more, welcome all devotees for our Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Welcome. So Thursday we have completed 4.31.7. So today we'll start with verse number 8, onwards of chapter 31. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudirve. Nashtaprayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaddarbhavati Nashtagi. Mugam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Dangye Guru Yat Kripadamakham Vande Paramanandamadavam Sri Gurum Dinadarinam Sri Chaitanyamishram Omajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Chalagya Chachurum Milidam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stavidam Yena Bhudale Swayam Rupa Gadamahim Dadanti Supadandiyam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Udavadagamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Sri Ruvam Sagar Jadam Saganirvanadan Nidam Dam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Barijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Saganilada Sri Vishagan Nidamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagalpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जगदागस्वामिन्निधि नामिने नमः आचार्यपदाय निधाय गुरुप्रदाय विग्रहदा दामदाय नगरगिरामदारिणे नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निधि नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देव गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि ओम तत्सत हरे कृष्णा once more all devotees welcome hare krishna. Sudarshan Prabhuji, you are reading first one or I will start?
Yes, Prabhuji, I will read this first one. Yes.
It's number
Correct. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, text number 8. Maitreya Uvacha, Iti Prajedasam Prishto, Bhagavan Narado Munihi, Bhagavati Uttama Sloka, Avishtatma Praveen Nribhan. Correction, Avishtatman Praveen Nribhan. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhayacharana Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, being thus petitioned by the Prachetas, the supreme devotee Narada, who is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, began to reply." Purport. In this verse, Bhagavan Narada indicates that Narada is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bracket, Bhagavati Uttama Sloka Avishtatma. Narada has no other business than thinking of Krishna, talking of Krishna, and preaching about Krishna. Therefore, he is sometimes called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who possesses all opulences. When a person possesses Bhagavan within his heart, he is also sometimes called Bhagavan. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura said, "Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastrai." In every Shastra, the spiritual master is accepted directly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This does not mean that the spiritual master or any saintly person like Narada has actually become the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is accepted in this way because he possesses the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart constantly, as described here, Avishtatma. When one is simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one is also called Bhagavan. Bhagavan possesses all opulences. If one possesses Bhagavan within his heart always, he does not automatically possesses all opulences also. In that sense, a great devotee like Narada can be called Bhagavan. However, we cannot tolerate when a rascal or impostor is called Bhagavan. One must possess either all opulences or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, who possesses all opulences. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Sevana Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dadat Nam to all assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. I'm not qualified since devotees are requesting. I will try to explain, share whatever is my understanding. And devotees can please feel free to express their understanding also. So we are actually at the end of, you can say, 4th canto. So this 31st chapter is the last chapter. So we are actually, you can say, we are the conclusive part of this Prachetas. So here we can see that Narada Muni is going to give instruction to Prachetas. So Prachetas are going to renounce their kingdom. If you see in the last chapter, in the verse, chapter number 30, verse number 18, the Lord told the Prachetas that they would become disgusted with their kingdom and attain him. That prediction comes true in this chapter. The Prachetas actually detached from their kingdom, leave for the forest, and by bhakti, described by Narada Muni, they will attain Krishna. So this is the way of material life. It's already Lord has predicted. We are always seeking for material enjoyment from our birth. But what happens after a period of time, we become disgusted with the material enjoyment. So then the soul, instead of trying to, try to experience happiness through material sense gratification, then it tries to go to the Supreme Lord. So that's why in our scriptures it is said that 4 arthas, the 4 purusharthas, like they say dharma, first rightful living, then by that you get artha, rightful wealth by your rightful living, then you enjoy the life, kama, and then finally after that you are disgusted with kama also, then you try to attain moksha. But Srimad Bhagavatam gives the 5th goal, which is actually Krishna Prema, love of Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. So that is still higher than moksha. So here we can see that even though the Prachetas were ruling the kingdom for many, many years, thousands of years, then finally they become disgusted, which was already predicted by the Lord in the previous chapter in 18th verse. And he said that eventually you will be disgusted and then you will come to Bhakti Yoga. So also Krishna says same in Bhagavad Gita also, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So after many, many lifetimes, the Jivatma tries to surrender to the Supreme Lord and says Vasudevam Sarvamiti. So Srila Prabhupada says that whoever has come to devotional service, bhakti also, it is not that they have accidentally come to this devotional movement, to Krishna consciousness. That means they have done many, many pious activities, done so many things, and finally they have come to this path. So this is the ultimate path, because we know there are different religion, different rituals. So once the soul will cross over or become fully matured, then the soul comes to surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Till that time, the soul goes for happiness, sometimes in material way, sometimes even in a spiritual way, in an impersonal way, like that. So many ways. But the ultimate, last, final destination for the spirit soul is to surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, the last verse, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam charanam raja am tam sarva papebhyo moksha isami masacha. So that is the ultimate instruction of Bhagavan, and that is the ultimate destination of any jivatma in this material world. So even if we are today here, we may have crossed many, many paths in the earlier lifetimes, and by mercy of Guru and Gauranga, we are in the path of the spiritual life, or by the mercy of any Vaishnava also, we are here today. So as Lord predicted, now the Prachetas, we can see they are actually retiring. So after living at their kingdom for thousands of years, they remembered that Lord's blessings, and then they left their home. So, and this was the earlier discussions, maybe last week we have read this one. And then the Prachetas went to the seashore, and then there they are now, we are seeing that Maitreya Muni is saying to Vidura, because his whole 4th canto is a discussion between Maitreya Muni and the Vidura. So here Maitreya Muni is actually is continuing his discussion with Vidura. So the great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, being thus petitioned by the Prachetas, the supreme devotee Narada, who is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality God, began to reply. So now the discussion between Narada Muni and the Prachetas is being discussed here. Because we know wherever Narada Muni goes, he immediately transforms whoever he meets to a great devotee. Like we know Dhruva Maharaj pastimes, and also we know we know many pastimes like that where Narada Muni met and he changed many people. That is the power of a pure devotee. Like Srila Prabhupada went to the Western countries and all the Western people, he changed by giving his blessings. Similarly, we can see here, Prahlad Maharaj also was transformed in the womb itself by the instruction of Narada Muni. So here, Narada Muni starts discussing, and the most important thing is, Krishna says, wherever my devotees are, chanting my glories, Edgayanti Tatra Tishtami Narada. So Narada Muni is always chanting the glories of the Lord. So the Lord is always present within the heart of Narada Muni. So we will go to the purport. In this verse, Bhagavan Narada indicates that Narada is always absorbed in the thoughts of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Avishtatma. So Bhagavan, so we always normally address Krishna as Bhagavan, but sometimes the devotees of the Lord are also addressed as Bhagavan, because in the absolute, like we can understand that the Lord, the devotees are actually, even though they are different from the Lord in quantity, but since they are also having the same desire as the Lord, we can say Saksha Dharitvena Samasta Sastra. They are also almost like, they are not equal to God, but they are almost like God. So they can also be addressed as Bhagavan. That's why here Bhagavan is actually given as a prefix to Narada Muni. Because Narada has no other business than thinking of Krishna. So he's always, this is a very special blessing if anybody can remember the Supreme Lord, always. So Narada Muni has that special blessings that he always remembers the Supreme Lord. Talking of Krishna and preaching about Krishna. And one thing is actually, if you want to always think of Krishna, one way is like if you are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or if you are taking some preaching service, automatically you need to prepare many things for the class. So naturally you will be thinking about Krishna, or even if you want to discuss about Krishna to someone, then you should have good knowledge. So in that way we can, when we are preaching or talking about Krishna, then naturally the remembrance of Krishna is more. Therefore he is sometimes called as Bhagavan. So we know Parasara Muni has given the definition of what is Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashriya Jnana. In Vishnu Puran, Parasara Muni, the father of Vyasadev, has given what is the definition for Bhagavan. So Srila Prabhupada writes, Bhagavan means one who possesses all affluences. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashriya Jnana Vairagya. All these qualities, Samagrasya means full. Whatever these qualities, 6 qualities which they are in full, like beauty, knowledge, strength, renunciation, and wealth, and renunciation. This all the 6 qualities, if it is in full for any person, then he is called as Bhagavan. So in this material world, we have a lot of people who have some kind of strength, but they cannot say I am all powerful, or some kind of wealth, but they cannot say I am the supreme proprietor of everything. No. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yajana Tapasam Sarvalokam Maheshwaram. So that is Bhagavan, means he is a proprietor of everything. So when all these affluences are in full, then that person can be called as Bhagavan. But sometimes the devotees are also, like Narada Muni is also addressed as Bhagavan, one who possesses all affluences. When a person possesses Bhagavan within his heart, he is also sometimes called as Bhagavan. So why Prabhupada writes here, why Narada Muni is addressed as Bhagavan? Because he is always having Krishna within his heart. So as we said, Yatra Gayanti Madbhakta Tatra Tishtami Narada. So Krishna says, whoever is always remembering me, I am always with them. I am not sitting somewhere else, but wherever my devotees chant, I remember, there I am there. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, Saksha Dharitvena Samasta Sastra. So every day morning during Mangalarati we sing this, Samsara Dava Nalli Loka. So there we come in the last verse, Saksha Dharitvena Samasta Sastra. That means in every Sastra, the spiritual master or the Guru is accepted directly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because by our own qualification, we cannot see the Supreme Lord. But by our physical eyes, we can see the Guru. So Guru is actually the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So within our heart is as a Chaitya Guru, and externally with the same Guru is manifested is the spiritual master, is a Diksha Guru. And apart from that, we have also Siksha Guru. But here, mainly this Supreme Personality of Godhead, this Guru, spiritual master, is actually referring, Srila Prabhupada refers to the Diksha Guru. And Diksha Guru will be only one for a person. But Siksha Guru may be, there are many Siksha Gurus for a devotee, but Diksha Guru will be one. And Srila Prabhupada refers the spiritual master is actually the directly accepted as Supreme Personality of Godhead, means it is actually referring to the Diksha Guru. This does not mean that the spiritual master or a saintly person like Narada has actually become the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, we should not confuse that the spiritual master is actually God. Because when there is always sometimes misunderstanding can come in the philosophical point of view, that when we read that Saksha Dari Tvena Samad, that means we are telling is equal. From God's perspective, from Krishna's perspective, they are actually devotees, pure devotees. But from our perspective, we have to give the respect as much as we are giving to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, from our perspective, he is as good as God. So, Prabhupada gives an example, like if ambassador of a country is visiting another country, he is well received in that country. The big personalities from the country come and receive him, give him nice accommodation, treat him with proper respect and etiquette. Why? Because he is representing that country. So that respect is not, the respect is mainly given because he is representing the whole country. If he is insulted, that means that country is insulted. So like that, the spiritual master is treated like God because he is a representative of the God. So that much, how much we are serving the spiritual master, that means that much we are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why here it is written. But he is accepted in this way because he possesses Supreme Personality of Godhead within this heart constantly. Because the spiritual master's only business is to glorify and preach the glories of the Lord constantly. As described here, Avistat Atma, when one is simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one is also called as Bhagavan. So the whole purport Prabhupada is clarifying why Narada Muni is addressed as Bhagavan and when a devotee can be addressed as Bhagavan and what is the reason. So Bhagavan possesses all affluences. If one possesses Bhagavan within his heart always, does he not automatically possess all affluences also? It's a very nice example way Prabhupada is explaining. Like we know a minister is having all the power. Suppose he's like an education minister. So he, education minister has all the power for getting a seat or whatever, into the education field. Somebody is a very, very close relative for that education minister. He can also get whatever the advantage the minister has, right? So here, God, Bhagavan means he's possessing all affluences and a devotee is possessing the Bhagavan. So he's very intimate to Bhagavan. That means he automatically possesses all the affluences. Like a father is having all the wealth and the son is very, very intimate to his father. Automatically, all the wealth of the father goes to the son. So like that, here we have to understand that a devotee has all the affluences because he is so intimately connected with Bhagavan, who is the possessor of all affluences. In that sense, a great devotee like Narada can be called Bhagavan. So in various angles, Prabhupada is giving explanation why Narada Muni is addressed as Bhagavan, even though only the Supreme Lord can be addressed as Bhagavan. However, we cannot tolerate when a rascal or impostor is called Bhagavan. But normally, a conditioned soul, this material world, cannot be given this title. So Prabhupada was very, very furious if somebody is claiming with this title called impostor. Impostor means fake people who are claiming that Bhagavan. So some people are addressed in the material world also with Bhagavan name. But that is not actually appropriate. It is an actually, Prabhupada uses a strong statement, it's a rascal or impostor. One must possess either all affluences or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagavan who possesses. So there are two things if you want to address a person as Bhagavan. He should possess all the affluences, which is not practically possible because we are actually conditioned soul. Or he should possess the Supreme Personality of Godhead, means he should become a pure devotee who has Krishna manifested in his heart. In those two cases only, we can address him as Bhagavan. So first case is naturally ruled out because nobody in this material world can possess all the affluences. So that is ruled out. But if there is a pure devotee, then that pure devotee can be addressed with the title as Bhagavan. So this is an understanding about Narada Muni's introduction and Narada Muni's discussion here. And So Narada Muni will start beginning to give his discourse or instructions to the Prachetas, by which Prachetas will develop in their devotional service. And he will enlighten them. So that will be the consequent verses now, what we will be discussing. So if devotees have any further understanding on this, please feel free to express your thoughts as well. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Before that, has anyone want to ask any doubt from this particular subject to discuss matter? We'll clear those doubts, if any.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask if Bhagavan and Paramatma, these two words are there, do they mean the same or exactly what is the difference between these two words?
Mataji, I will just share my understanding. Paramatma is also sometimes not addressed as Bhagavan, because Paramatma is also a temporary manifestation. So in the scripture it is said that the Paramatma will accompany only when our journey in this material world. Once we go to the spiritual world, then actually Paramatma will not be there with us. Only the Paramatma is Upadrishta Anumantacha. In 13th chapter, Krishna says, Upadrishta Anumantacha, Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwara, Paramatmeti Chapito, Deesmin, Purusha Para. So he is here for two things. One is to guide us, and also he is a witness to all our activities. And third thing is, when we desire something, if he approves, that thing will happen to us. We can enjoy that one, whatever we desire. And if he will reject us based on our karmic credit, we will not able to get that desired object. So that is the function of Paramatma. So God is realized in three stages according to our Vedic scriptures. One is Bhagavan, who is seated in the spiritual world. And then second feature of God, second stage of realization is Paramatma. So on third stage is actually Brahman. So Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So if you see that Paramatma is very unique, but Bhagavan is still higher than Paramatma realization. So we can say the Paramatma is normally, even though it is actually an expansion of Krishna only, but Paramatma we are not normally addressing. But again, it is not wrong to address Paramatma also, because see, when a devotee itself can be addressed as Bhagavan, why we should not address Paramatma as Bhagavan also? But technically speaking, Bhagavan means it's actually referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and its expansion is actually Paramatma. There is nothing wrong if you address also.
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, who possesses all opulences called Bhagavan, and whoever possesses all opulence, they will have 64 qualities also?
No, Mataji, here affluences means it is like this, as I said, Parasaramani. In Vishnu Purana, he has given the definition for what are the 6 affluences. Bhagavan means like we can say that Aishwaryasya, Viryasya, Yasya, Shriya, Jnana, Vairagya. So these 6 things he will possess. So you are asking about the 64 qualities, no, Prabhu, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So 64 qualities only possessed by Krishna, whereas a Jivatma in full development also, he will not possess 64 qualities. So 64 qualities, that 4 qualities are only unique to Krishna, because that, that he plays very beautifully the flute. Even Vishnu, he will possess only the 60 qualities. So that playing of this flute or attracting the Jivatmas, that kind of 4 unique qualities is only with Krishna. So the Jivatma will not have the 64 qualities even if he is addressed as Bhagavan.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, you may name and explain those 6 opulences in English, Prabhu. You studied in Sanskrit only.
Yes. Okay, that definition goes like this. Aishwaryasya. Aishwaryasya means what, Prabhu?
Wealth.
Samagrasya means full, in full. Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya. Viryasya means strength, right?
Strength, yes.
Okay, Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya. Yasya means fame.
Fame.
Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya. Yasya, Shriya means beauty. Then 5 is Jnana, knowledge. And 6 is Vairagya, renunciation. So if you see, that means nobody can be more wealthier than the Lord, Supreme Lord, because he says Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Okay, and then if you see Samagra Aishwarya, Viryasya means Krishna lifted, strength in 7 years old when he just lifted the Govardhan hill. Nobody can lift like that. We cannot lift even our table in one hand. Okay, that is Viryasya. Yashya is always very famous. See, Janmashtami, Krishna came 5,000 years before. We are still throughout the world. Janmashtami is celebrated. Lord Ram came, in the previous Yuga, and we are celebrating Ramanami, Narsimha Chaturdasi, Satya. So you can see that fame. When no material persons can be celebrated like these birthdays, hardly 50, 60 years we celebrate. Yasha Shriya means it is said that Kandarpa, Kamaniya, Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham, Govinda Mahadi Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. So nobody is actually more beautiful than the Supreme Lord. Even the love, God of love is attracted by his beauty. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. So such a mesmerizing beauty Krishna has. And Yasha Shriya, the Jnana, the knowledge Krishna has, he has given this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and all those things. We know that it's very, very high, ultimate knowledge, Jnana and Vairagya. And even though he has all these affluences, he is not pride or egoistic. He can renounce those things at any moment. Like, the whole material world Krishna has created and just given to the Jivatma that this is all for you. Krishna is not attached for anything. Krishna was so intimate with the gopis and gopas in Vrindavan, but when the duty was calling to go to Mathura, he just left like that. Renunciation, he can immediately detach from anything. But for us, it's difficult, right? So these are the 6 affluences which are full in Bhagavan. It is partially in the Jivatma for certain percentage. For either 1 affluences or 2 affluences may be partial. So that is the difference. When it is in full and complete permanent, it is actually Bhagavan. You want to add anything, bro, on this?
Yes, Prabhuji. And for renunciation, he gave up all his possessions and he just became a charioteer for his devotee Arjuna.
Yeah, yes. So very apt. Yes, he was ready to take up any menial position in order to satisfy his devotees. So,
and yes. So Ratnamadaji, I think this is clear.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
And even a Jivatma possesses any of these 6 up to certain level above average, that Jivatma, especially human being, will become well-known person. If you have some beauty or some wealth, some knowledge, some renunciation, if you have more than average, then that will be.
Yeah, they become very famous in this world.
Will be recognized.
Yes.
We can see in our life
and glorified also.
Glorified also. Yeah. Even in both in our spiritual life and material life, we can see that.
Jivatma will be Anu and Bhagavan will be Vibhu.
Vibhu, always. Yes. Anu Atma and Vibhu Atma. We are like a drop of water in the ocean.
Yes.
He is the mighty ocean.
Yes.
The drop of water can have all the qualities of the sea, like all the sodium chloride and all other chemicals will be there. But can it give shelter to large whales and shakes, or can it create this great strong winds or large waves? No, not. No. So that differences. If no doubts and no additions, we may try to read one more sloka.
When Paramatma means when it comes to our Jiva body, it is called Paramatma, right, Prabhuji? Or Bhagavan?
Yes, Prabhu. Paramatma means when the Paramatma manifests only when the Jivatma is in the material world. When the Jivatma is liberated and goes back to the spiritual world, then the Paramatma does not accompany.
Yes, correct. Okay, Prabhuji. It's a little bigger, but I think first we will read and then.
We can.
I'll read or somebody else.
Please go ahead. Sumar, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Verse number 9. Narada Uvaja Tajjanma Tani Karmani Tada Yusta Manovajaha Pranam Enahi Vishwatma Sevyade Harimishwaraha. Narada Uvaja Tajjanma tani karmani tada yustanmano vajaha Mrinam yenahi vishwatma sevyade haririshwaraha. Translation purported by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The great sage Narada said, when a living entity is born to engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Controller, his birth, all his fruitive activities, his lifespan, his mind, and his words are all factually perfect. In this verse, the word Nranam is very important. There are many other birds besides human birth, but Narada Muni is here in especially speaking a human birth. Among human beings, there are different types of men. Of these, those who are advanced in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness are called Aryans. Among Aryans, one who engages in the devotional service of the Lord is most successful in life. The word Nrinam indicates that lower animals are not expected to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. But in perfect human society, everyone should engage in the devotional service of the Lord. It does not matter whether one is born poor or rich, but black or white. There may be so many material distinctions for one who takes birth in human society. But everyone should engage in the Lord's devotional service. At the present moment, civilized nations have given up God consciousness for economic development. They are actually no longer interested in advancing in God consciousness. Formerly, their forefathers were engaged in executing religious principles. Whether one is Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Jewish, or whatever, everyone has some religious institution. Real religion, however, means becoming God conscious. It is practically mentioned herein that birth is successful if I'm interest in Krishna consciousness is taken. Activity is successful if it results in serving the Lord. Philosophical speculation or mental speculation is successful when engaged in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The senses are worth possessing when engaged in service of the Lord. Actually, devotional service means engaging in senses in the service of the Lord. At the present moment, our senses are not purified. Therefore, our senses are engaged in the service of society, friendship, love, politics, sociology, and so on. However, when the senses are engaged in the service of Lord, one attains bhakti or devotional service. In the next verse, these matters will be more clearly explained. When one great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Lord, he said that all his desires were fulfilled. He said, today everything is auspicious. Today my birthplace and neighborhood are completely glorified. Today my senses from my eyes down to my toes are fortunate. Today my life is successful because I have taken able to see. I have been able to see the lotus feet of the lotus feet that are worshipped by the goddess of fortune. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Super.
Krishna.
Very nice.
Yeah, nice purport. Actually, very practical purport, we can say.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So here now Narada Muni starts replying to the inquiries because the Prachetas asked Narada Muni to enlighten them. So now Narada Muni starts replying to them. That from verse number 9 today, this verse from up to 14, Narada Muni is going to explain that devotional service is the goal of all spiritual practices. Whether we are taking jnana or karma, finally, but what is the essence or goal of all, whatever yoga practice we are doing? As Krishna is saying, yogi nam api sarvesham madgate antaratmana. So, Shraddhavan Bhajate Yoma. So, after all yogis, one who is always thinking about me constantly in his heart, he is the best among all yogis. 6th chapter, last verse, Krishna is telling like that. So, devotional service, bhakti, is the goal of all spiritual practices. Here, Narada Muni is replying, when a living entity is born to engage in devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme controller of his birth, all his fruity activities, his lifespan, his mind and his words are factually perfect. So, it all becomes fulfilled when a person is actually engaging in devotional service. Otherwise, whatever we are doing, the scripture says, if you other than devotional service, whatever achievement we may take, it is like Shrama Eva Kevalam. That means it is a useless labor. So always they say the famous example, like whatever we have, like the beauty or knowledge, or what we discussed earlier, like beauty, knowledge, strength or something, these are all compared to zeros because these are temporary. But the moment you put Krishna in the beginning, like Krishna is like 1. If you put 1 before 0, then whatever zeros you have, that becomes actually valuable. So every 0 you add after 1, it becomes more and more valuable. But when you don't put the Krishna, the Supreme Lord, in front of your whatever affluences you have, then it remains only as a 0 because it is temporary. It can be taken away any moment. Because we see sometimes a person is very, very wealthy and after 1 or 2 years he becomes bankrupt. We have seen many examples. We are reading in the newspaper. So wealth can come anytime, wealth can go anytime. Beauty comes at a certain age and beauty leaves at a certain age. Knowledge, also people have good knowledge. Then they get Alzheimer's, they go, even they forget whom they are. So anything in this world, whichever we are getting, any affluence, it can be taken within a fraction of a second. So it is basically without connecting to the Supreme Lord, it becomes useless. So we'll go to the purport actually. Prabhupada writes very nice instructions here. In this verse, the word Nirnam is very important. So Nirnam means a human birth. Narada Muni here is especially speaking of human birth. Among human beings, again among human beings, we know there are different types of men. People who are advanced in spiritual consciousness is called Aryans. So Aryans means who is Aryan? According to the definition, Aryan means one who is developing in their spiritual life. But normally in South, there is a misunderstanding who is Aryan. So they have the Aryan Dravidian. Dravidians mean South people, Aryans mean North Indians. And they make a conflict that Aryans are trying to subjugate the Dravidians, South people. No, actually, according to the scriptural understanding, this Arya word is used even in Bhagavad Gita. Aryans means one who develops themselves in Krishna consciousness or spiritual life. So any person, whether South Indian or North Indian, if he is developing himself, taking spiritual life very seriously and developing, that person is called as an Aryan. So that is clarified by Prabhupada here. And there are also categories of lower animals. So who are not engaging in bhakti or trying to connect themselves with God, Lord, they are equated with the same like animals because animals they don't have the intelligence to understand the Lord. So when perfect human society, everyone should engage in the devotional service of the Lord. So here it is written that there is no need for any qualification. You can be either a rich man or poor man, black or white. There may be many material distinctions. I am from higher class society, other person is from lower class. Why this is written? Because in today's society also these things are very strong. People in the higher class society, they are respected, lower class, they are not respected. But for Lord, there is no such distinction that this person only can worship me. If you go to Udupi, if you see the Udupi, the Lord Krishna is actually turned 180 degree backside. Why? Because his devotee Kanakadas, he was from a lower caste family, but the Brahmins, they did not allow to take darshan. They did not allow him inside the temple. So the Lord, what he did, I want to give darshan to my devotee. So the devotee went backside of the temple and there was a small hole called Kanakakinti. Today also we can see that. So he is so eager to take darshan of the Lord that he went to backside of the temple and there is a hole. Through the hole, he wanted to get the Lord darshan. So the Lord, what he did, he turned. Normally in the temple, the deity is facing front when you are taking darshan. But there, the Lord is actually 180 degree opposite because the deity changed 180 degrees to give darshan to his devotee. So materially, maybe there is distinctions within people, but the Lord will not see any distinctions. Whoever is taking up devotional service, the Lord is very, very merciful to them. So Prabhupada writes here, everyone should be engaged in Lord's devotional service. And Prabhupada writes here, this purport is written at least 50 years before by Srila Prabhupada. He's saying at the present moment, even he is saying that time, still now it is more worse. At the present moment, civilized nations have given up God consciousness of our economic development, because every country is competing with each other to develop economically. All the countries actually, you can see today, they are like China want to become superpower, America want to retain their superpower, like that. So all the countries are trying in this race for developing economic. In that race, what happens? They are forgetting God. If you see, the whole America was founded with God consciousness, the beginning. When the Europeans were not allowed to practice spiritual life, these Europeans migrated to America and they established a spiritual society. And if you see in the United States of America, the dollar, it is written that in God we trust. But eventually what happened, as the country started developing from the scratch, they become very liberal. They give so much freedom that they say no need, nobody should be forced or instructed about God consciousness. No, it's not important. It became like that. Because when there is too much economic development, what happens? The people are naturally diverted towards sense enjoyment. When we have excess money, normally human tendency, what they will do with too much money? If you don't engage in the service of the Lord, that money has to be engaged in sense gratification. So by that, they will forget God. Formerly, their forefathers were engaged in executing religious principles. So whether one is a Hindu, Muslim or Buddhist or Jewish, whatever, everyone has some religious institution. This word we have to underline. Real religion, however, means becoming God consciousness. See, this is what called real religion. We need not superficially rubber stamp ourselves that I am a Hindu or Christian. The Christian is fighting with the Muslim and the Muslim is fighting with Christian and the Christian fighting with Hindu or Hindu is fighting. No, there is no use of fighting like this superficially. What is real religion? Prabhupada writes here. You have to become God conscious. There is scripture, holy scripture given in every religion. Are you sincerely following that? Or you are always thinking about the thought of God? Because the more you think of God, automatically you will become purified. So that is, this point has to be actually understood, written, memorized, or you should take as a note that what is real religion? Means becoming God conscious. What is becoming God conscious mean? You should always remember God. And in any event, in any situation, Smartavya Satatam Vishnu, Vishmartavya Jatuchit. So if you should always remember God and never forget Him. So that is called real religion. If you are able to accomplish that in any religion, then that religion can be accepted. So Bhagavatam is always repeatedly making us to remember Krishna. That's why it is called as the true Dharma. It is particularly mentioned here in that the birth is successful if its interest in Krishna consciousness is taken. Activity is successful if it results in serving the Lord. Whereas philosophical speculation or mental speculation is successful when engaged in understanding the Supreme Personality of God. Even if you take some kind of Jnana Yoga or something, it will be successful only when you are trying to understand Krishna. The senses are worth possessing when engaged in the service of the Lord. See, the senses itself is not bad. If it is engaged in the service of the Lord, then those are to be glorified. Actually, devotional service means engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. We know that Rishikesha Rishikena Sevana Bhakti Uchyate. So when the senses are engaged in the master of the senses, that is called as Bhakti. But at the present moment, our senses are not purified. Why? Because the senses are engaged in different service, like serving the society, friendship, love, politics, like that. But we are not happy by serving all these people. What happens when you serve society or friendship, love? What happens? As long as you serve, they are happy. The moment you stop your service, then they become inimical or they are not happy with us. This is the practical truth, we can say. You are serving the society, everybody glorifies. But the moment you stop serving society, then the society is not happy with you. Or even when you're serving the society, sometimes they can misunderstand that you are doing with some ulterior motive. But with Krishna, it does not happen. When you serve, Krishna knows your intention and Krishna always reciprocates for your service. However, when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, one attains bhakti or devotional service. In the next verse, because now Narada Muni is going to explain a little more deeper about the glories of bhakti in coming verses. This matter will be more clearly explained. And Prabhupada gives a practical example. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 500 years before, when one great devotee of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Lord, he said all his desires are fulfilled. Anybody knows who is the devotee who has said this? Because I am also not aware. We need to check. If somebody knows, they can say that. When one great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Lord, he said that all his desires are fulfilled. He said, today everything is auspicious. Today my birthplace and neighborhood are completely glorified. Today my senses from my eyes down to my toes are fortunate. Today my life is successful because I have been able to see the lotus feet that are worshipped by goddess of worship, goddess of fortune. So this is an exercise for us that we need to find out who was the devotee who exclaimed this when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So devotees, please feel free to express whatever your understanding.
First doubts, Prabhu. First doubts will be cleared from the translation and purport, if any.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Then we can go for comments and explanation. Hare Krishna. Because our aim of Nityam Bhagavata Seva is to read,
The purport.
listen, and understand translation purport 100%. Okay. So we can speak on subjects for hours, days together, but that is not our aim. What is the contents of Srimad Bhagavatam? That is canto by canto, chapter by chapter. We will try to understand that. Okay, if no specific doubts, then any general doubts also can be asked. We will try to discuss. About devotional service, about rendering devotional service unto the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, there should not be any doubt. Let it be through any one or through all the 9 processes of devotional service. Okay. If everything is understood thoroughly, then as Prabhu asked, realization can be shared, additions can be made. We have called it 10:35. We can take 5 more minutes if needed. Okay. If nobody is speaking, I have one word to say. Like Srila Prabhupada often say Paramatma of localized Paramatma. Please remember this word, localized Paramatma, because he is in the local vicinity of the individual body. Along with Jivatma, Paramatma also resides in the region of heart. But the space occupied by both are, different. Like a ordinary Atma, Jivatma, says is 1/10,000 of the tip of the hair. But a Paramatma occupies the space which is equal to the size of thumb of a person. Okay, we have discussed this in one of the previous classes also. But both are in the region of heart. Then there, what is called the doubt comes now. Generally, we understand it is in heart. Then what happens during heart transplantation? That people ask. Means this particular Jivatma and Paramatma sitting in the heart to be transplanted will it enter into the body of the second person who is receiving heart? No, it's not like that. It is they are not exactly inside the heart. They are in the region of the heart. That is the actual way. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guruji.
Prabhu, I think that devotee was Srila Prabhupada referring is, I think, Ramananda Rai.
Ramananda Rai, Prabhu. Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhu.
Guruji, is the story of the Brahmana, means one Bhagavad Gita who was reading?
No, Prabhu told it is Ramananda Rai, Prabhu. Ramananda Rai.
Ramananda Rai, because I can see that this verse is there actually in Veda base in Madhya Leela.
Okay.
In text number 33, by his mercy I received your interview. Consequently, I consider that today I have become a successful human being. This is there in chapter 8, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 8. This verse it is there. It talks between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai.
Ramananda Rai. Okay.
Yeah, I think that is the one. Yes. And Ramanand Rai was the governor of Madras.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, South region.
Right.
Yes, South region.
Half
Yes. Andhra is basically from Andhra, that region. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, that
South.
region. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. So it is so purifying to even listen the name of great devotee Ramanand Rai, pure devotee, associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even hearing and chanting their names itself will purify fallen souls like us. Very good.
So we can refer this one, like text number 33 from Madhya Leela, and chapter 8 talks between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda. There he is saying that my life has I become a successful human being by meeting you. So,
Madhya Leela, chapter 8, text 33.
33.
Oh.
Yes.
833. Madhya
Yes.
Leela. Oh, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We are indebted to you. You have given us your precious time. Okay, although most of us meet every day.
Yeah,
10:30 to 10:30.
we all are learning, Prabhu. We are all learning by mercy of Guru and Krishna Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhupada has given everything. We only have to read or listen and understand.
Yes.
As I always say, he has given the foodstuff into our mouth. Even it is very softened. We need not even chew. We need to just swallow it.
Yeah, very true.
In that way, he has given us. He has spoon-fed us.
No, also, Prabhu, whatever means sometimes we heard that one, but the memory we forget that one. Again, Prabhu,
repeat, bro. Repetition.
Repeating, but again, that will be help us to remember this thing.
Yes, Prabhu. That is why Srila Prabhupada has given a wonderful daily routine for us. No?
Yes, Prabhu.
Follow the daily routine. In that temple routine, we have 1 hour Bhagavatam class in the morning, 1 hour Bhagavad Gita class in the evening. So if not that much, whatever is possible with us, and Acharya is advising to us to spend at least 2 hours for reading. If not 2 hours, at least 1 hour, half an hour, how much is possible? Okay, we all are struggling in the material life to earn our bread and butter. Many of us got extended working hours. Some are lucky to have 8 hours only. Some have 10, 12, even 14 also with traveling time. Some have shift duties, night duties.